Hey everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Lav. I go by they, them pronouns. And I am the on actor for the first episode of his Persona series. I first met Brandon when I was on DeviantArt. I had made a DeviantArt account, basically, if you are familiar, back in the day, where you make a troll OC, overpowered Mary Sue, and then you rage bait a bunch of chuds into sending you death threats. When I first met Brandon, I was on a spree of making fan kids, and I came across his page, and well, I didn't take him seriously at first. I dead ass thought that he was just another troll account. Until later, that I ended up seeing a post where he was giving links out to his Discord server that I joined. One of our conversations that we had, I mentioned that I wanted to get into voice acting. Before I met Brandon, I would only voice act like shit post or make videos for closest friends to watch. So I guess he was like, "Oh, okay, sure, let's get you started. By the way, did anyone mention that you sound like Twilight Sparkle?" What the fuck? I don't sound like Twilight Sparkle at all. So that began my, I guess, the voice acting career I had with Brandon. I wasn't originally just on from the Persona series. I was Twilight Sparkle, I was Sunset Shimmer, I played his mother, his adopted sisters. I think for one of the episodes I was Pinkie Pie. Uh, and to answer questions, no, he would not pay me very much. For those of you curious, he would only pay me in DeviantArt points, 20 specifically. And if you don't know how much that is in real life money terms, back in the day, 100 DVR points equal to $1. 20, 20 points equal to something like 20 cents. And well, getting Discord Nitro meant, well, I had to do a month's work of free voice acting. Voice acting was not the only thing that I did with Brandon, though. I am an artist. If you see the past videos I've made, I make art, albeit not very good, but it's art. And for that, he would not pay me very much to do that either. Albeit while working with Brandon, I've noticed some people were asking questions about like how he was as a boss. And let me tell you, imagine you're working in a corporate office. You're doing your own business, and all of a sudden your boss comes along and is like, "Hey, can I come and sit and watch what you're doing?" And you're probably like, "Okay, why would you want to see what I'm doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I just like watching what my people do." And he proceeds to sit there and watch what you're doing. He often wanted to sit in Discord calls and want to like listen to me voice act for him, which I was like, "Okay, I don't see anything wrong with that. He could provide me with constructive criticism if he felt like that I was doing something wrong." Outside of doing voice acting and doing art, he would sometimes call and talk about things. He doesn't, like, he never really specifically talked about his home life. There was like only a few times that he did. And one of them was because his mom threatened to cut off his social security income, which, by the way, was the only way that he was getting income outside of, PayPal. Other than that, it was My Little Pony, role play, his waifus, and his projects. I did get a couple of weird vibes from him. Like, he gives off the impression that he's someone who is like, "Oh, I'm very quirky. I'm a little nerd. Don't hurt me. I am just a little nerd." But then he does and says stuff that kind of comes off really weird. Probably one of the weirdest things that he has asked me to do was one, voice his mom in his fictional series, which I'm not sure about you. I don't sound like a 40-year-old. That and his weird isekai. He had this rule where if he isekai'd into another world, he would age regress into the age that the characters were in. And while despite being supportive of the LGBT, or so he says, his family isn't. Like, there was this one time where I told him that I'm non-binary. I go by they them. And I guess his cousin John heard in the background. Cousin John proceeded to berate me like sit there full on screaming at my face because he told me that non-binary people aren't real, and Brandon just sat there not saying anything. And here's the gold that people would be looking for. Yes, Brandon is a Trump supporter. Probably where I should have ran. At some point, Brandon decided that he would ask if I would be his romantic partner. Which I was like, that's not really appropriate. You're technically my boss. This is not appropriate. And I turned him down. He seemed to be okay with it, but this is a theory. I feel like that he was holding on to the idea that eventually I might say yes. Working with Brandon over time became extremely draining. Not only was I being underpaid, he was very clingy. He would constantly want to call. He would constantly want my attention. He would constantly want to role play. And it just eventually got too much. It all came to a head, which I thank my friends to this day for doing this. They pulled me into a GC and showed me everything that he had did. Take a pro tip from me. Before you ever start working for somebody, please do your research on that person before you ever start working for them. That would save you a lot of heartache, especially for what I'm about to say next. Earlier into our conversations, there were times where I was vulnerable with Brandon. I told him about my past childhood, especially how I felt about people who abuse other people. And when I found out, I don't really know how to explain how I felt. I just felt disgusted. When my friend showed me everything that he did, I ended up blocking him and his friends. And I just dropped from everywhere. I dropped off from the face of the planet. I ended up deleting my old DeviantArt account because if you're not aware, one of his accusations was that he would make alt accounts and start harassing people. And I felt that it was not enough blocking him on DeviantArt, so I deleted my old one. I wish I could tell you that this is all history and now that I'm living the best life, which part 1 is true. I have a better job now that pays me way more than Brandon ever did. But come to find out, one of his voice actors reached out to me and told me that Brandon had been using some of my characters without my permission. The characters I had made was basically like his adopted sister, and if you scroll for an Aluna Stars on his DeviantArt account, you will find that she exists. Now, he paid somebody to make a 3D model of her, and his excuse was because he paid $60 for the 3D model, he had the rights to use her. I told him no, he does not, and stop using her. It got to the point where I was afraid, because where I was staying was at a trade school, and which we lived about 2 hours from each other from where I was at. Afraid he was going to pull up to my school and do something. So it got to the point where I had to inform security to not let this guy on campus. Thankfully, he never did. And for those of you asking if I would ever reprise my role as An for the Persona series, no, I will not do that again. And for those of you who are thinking of voice acting for Brandon, please, for the love of God, do not work for Brandon. That's all I have for now. I will be posting more videos with some proof of some of the things that he's done. My biggest regret is not having a lot.
Greetings, my fellow clowns and lunatics. It is Lav here with a counter response to Brandon's response. If you aren't already aware, Brandon the Brony Pony had made a response to my Storytime video. And, well, let's just say he's pretty pissed. Brandon had posted his response on DeviantArt. If you want to see it, please watch my last video to get the full idea. Point 1. His claim that it was my fault for not speaking up if I wanted to get paid more. According to Brandon, my set price at the time was 20 points, and if I simply wanted to get paid more, I should have spoken up. To be fair, Brandon is correct about that being my price at the time. I had failed to mention this as well as a couple other things in my story time, as the entire video had been unscripted. I learned now that I should charge 100% more for the product, especially to people who will take advantage of me. However, I am unsure if I had spoken up about my desire to be paid more, you would have used your position of power to convince me to reconsider. Again, emphasis of position of power. Point 2. That I was uncomfortable with the live directs. I know for a fact you either skimmed my video or simply had not watched it at all. As if you had paid attention to the video, I stated that at the time I simply thought it was okay. It had not been until I had left your project that I realized how weird it was. Now you may claim you would have respected my wishes, but I know for a fact when I brought up to you that I was burnt out back when I was working for you, you continued to try and pressure me to do more art for you, so I have extreme doubts you would have respected my wishes. Point 3. You confirmed that you asked me out. You acknowledged that it was indeed inappropriate. However, you lacked to inform your audience to why it had been inappropriate. To my audience, I will inform you why. As in my first point, I made it clear the position of power. He was my boss, asking an underling for a romantic relationship. This type of partnership would have been classified as a fishing off the company pier. And it's considered bad for a multitude of reasons. It can create a toxic work environment as there would be favoritism towards a certain employee. It would have put your project at risk, and heaven forbid a breakup happens? It would create a cesspool of mistrust amongst employees as workers would be forced to pick sides. Had I been fired while dating Brandon, it would have been viewed as a retaliation and it would be classified as sexual harassment. Point 4. Claims that I had called him anti-LGBTQ. Again, you either simply skimmed my video or simply had not watched it. I had never called you anti-LGBTQ. That was directed at your cousin who did in fact scream at me during a voice call when I had informed you that I am non-binary. Which, so you know, in case you are working for Brandon, just know his cousin will scream at you if you are LGBTQ and he hears about it. And 100% no, Brandon will not defend you. So this completely comes out of left field and probably makes you look worse than you already did. Now, Brandon's argument is that he has two OCs that are in fact a part of the LGBTQ, and therefore he is not against the LGBTQ. Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say somehow this claim that having LGBTQ OCs is a valid defense. So I took the liberty of watching all 6 current episodes of Is Equestria Girls a Brony at Canterlot High. During my episode binge, I noticed a few things. The claim that you have a non-binary OC, while exists, is merely used as a backdrop. Bonnie Lilac is the character with the least amount of dialogue and screen time. That had you asked your audience currently who they are, they simply would have not cared or remembered who they are. The claim that Azure Moon is bisexual and in a bisexual relationship with Aria Blaze. Now tell me if I am wrong, but I have watched all 6 episodes and not once do we see Azure either expressing her bisexuality or indeed enter a relationship with Aria Blaze. In fact, as the audience, we would have simply assumed that Azure was straight. As in the episode 3, she is seen only simping for the male band members from her favorite band. Azure and Aria don't even meet at all during the duration of all 6 episodes. And just like Bonnie, she does not get much screen time at all. If anything, the only sibling that gets remotely more screen time than the other 2 is the sister Fuchsia, who the audience would infer is straight. You may have LGBTQ OCs, however, they are treated as merely accessories and brownie points for your series. Point 5, the last and final point in his post, where he writes a 3-paragraph long essay. Brandon claims that in his defense, he is still not using Aluna Stars, that the OC he is using now is his own original character that he bought as an adopt. Now, while this is true, let's bring up a couple of things. We had not signed a formal contract that Aluna could be used in the series, and his excuse at the time to why he could use her was that he paid a $60 3D model for her. When I had messaged his friend that Brandon could no longer use her, I expected that to be the end of it. It wasn't until months later I had found out Brandon had done a re-edition of Azure that directly rips off Aluna's design. When confronted, he did delete. However, this does not change the fact that he A, will continue to use the characters until he is not told not to, B, will directly use your likeness for said character, C, will rip off the design regardless if you are no longer in contact with him. Azure may not be a direct Aluna, however, her likeness was still used in the Brony Pony series, as you have basically copy-pasted her likeness onto Azure. You claim you are not a PDF file. However, you do not know how to conduct yourself appropriately around minors. You ship yourself with characters who are canonically minors, yet you'll age them up to be barely legal yet young enough to remain in high school, or even make a public account where minors could easily access your DeviantArt page to view your giantess fetish. Or the fact that you posted your teenage OCs onto a known NSFW chatbot site. It is not enough to simply age up the characters if you won't change the design or even change an aspect about them to do more than imply that they are in fact adults. The fact you have to put a disclaimer in front of your video says enough how problematic that is. Not only that, you once associated yourself with someone who has a diaper fetish and wrote Fulcon. Not only that, but also sent nude photos to a minor. You had not ended the friendship over that, but instead over creative differences. Your claim about EUF lovers still does not hold water because of how simple it is for anyone to fake a typing style. While it would be harder to disprove you are EUF lover, your point about typing styles does not hold much weight. So you wish to have people research about you more, then come back to you? Then here is what I found. You cannot conduct yourself professionally as a boss. You especially cannot conduct yourself appropriately around minors. You choose to keep relationships with problematic people, even going as far as to keeping someone's secret to you until the friendship ended. You keep a public page open where anyone can view your fetishes whilst trying to run a professional YouTube account. You will work your employees to the bone with little pay, and you are more than willing to also post giantess art of your adopted mother while in the description have a story about going through your adopted sister's clothes. That is all I have to say. If you like this video, please consider giving a like and a subscribe. Thank you for watching.